Okay, let's try this again. I'll try and be quiet because Chris is doing an assignment right now. Chris, you have to let me see it before you move on. She's scrolling up and down, so I called him on it. Anyway, I hate having to contact NCSoft support. I dread it. I do everything that I can to avoid doing it. Their customer service is terrible. Although this time I was actually like pleasantly surprised that it wasn't like immediately combative. I was still kind of expecting it to be combative then. Because if you point out something like, they were helpful initially with the thing, explained why it worked that way and all that. But then like I dared question something after he said something really weird that made no sense in any sort of context. And I had made sure to be obsessively clear.
Mom, may I please pause?
You could have asked me that before I started less than a minute ago. The answer would have been the same. You need to stick by me. You're just doing a writing assignment, honey. So, yeah. You want to go sit where all the crayons are. Anyway, I hate having to contact NCSoft customer care. They are not something that I would deal with unless I had to. But I also think that it's better than dealing with a machine. Apparently, wherever they're from or whatever office culture they have, I don't even like the term office culture, because all that means is that that's the type of people that you foster in that environment. Do not like being questioned or having their expertise questioned or anything about that questioned. Meaning, like, I don't mean things like asking, what do you have a degree and stuff. I mean things like saying, well, it worked, but then it didn't. Like, this is what's going on. Here's video of this thing that I'm showing you that is going on, you know. Please don't. And, you know, like, if they say something weird, you're like, what? I question this. And then I explained, you know, why this was weird. Apparently, that is not taken well because I'm not kissing the boots of whoever is talking to me. If you cannot handle talking to customers, you should not do customer service. If you cannot handle me, I would really hate to see how you would handle someone who really does do all the name calling and the yelling and, you know, contacts ex-supervisor of your supervisor and all this other stuff. Apparently I have a reputation, though, because so many people over there have taken offense to me doing that. Or just over-explaining myself. It's like, even whenever you're talking, like, in regards to yourself and referencing your own experiences, someone gets offended. I don't know what kind of culture they have over there in that office, but yeah, you don't even have to insult them for them to be insulted. I don't deal with it unless I have to. They really go out of their way to be insulted, to be offended. And I'm like, dude, even whenever I'm talking about myself, you're getting offended and seeing something in it for you. I'm literally just over explaining myself because I'm intensely self-conscious. And also because I've had bad experiences with people who are like, well, my experience is this and you're contacting me, therefore you should just kiss the ground that I walk on. No, I'm going to question you, fucker. I mean, you didn't hear that.
Yes, I did.
You're not going to repeat that though, are you?
I'm not going to repeat it.
Good. And you don't actually use that word towards them, but like you think it. Because that would actually be rude. just say that to somebody. That is actually rude to say that to somebody. So I don't say that. I actually got made fun of as a kid because my manners are more formal. That's what I was brought up with. Very formal, old-fashioned, and very formal. Like it's way formal, even the old-fashioned manners. I mean, even the non-old-fashioned manners from where we originally like came from in this country are formal for the area that I live in. I am not used to somebody thinking of me as rude because I am very, very polite. I am, however, skilled in the art of telling you to F off very politely. But I can also just, people around here call it going ghetto or whatever. I can also do that and just tell you to fuck off normally. But normally, I mean, usually, I just am very polite about it. And I don't actually use those words. But that last one, there is something positive. The supervisor, whoever, actually said some helpful, like some things that I could maybe actually use to look into something while telling me to F off, instead of just being as combative as humanly possible. That's good, but he's still calling me rude whenever I wasn't rude.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, and if you're dealing with people internationally, you need to keep in mind that etiquette is different places. It is not my job to keep in mind that your company is from another country. If you're dealing with customers from a lot of different places, you need to keep in mind that there are different manners in different places, and I have no idea where it would be rude to question things. But guess what? Some people, I mean, here that's just a toxic thing that happens sometimes. And generally speaking, the people that do that are considered the assholes. Because, you know, if it is relevant, unless you're like asking them deeply personal questions. Or like, even here, like someone could ask you, like, what is your education? And that wouldn't be considered rude. And if you reacted belligerently, especially whenever, you know, it is applicable to what you're doing, and if you acted belligerently, you would be considered the rude one. They can ask you, you know, what's the degree that you have in this field? You know, and it would just be considered about what you're doing. I mean, you could, like, that's actually considered, like, normal. I just imagine, like, if you can't even handle being asked a question about something that directly pertains to your job and what you're doing in that current moment, if that's rude to you, you would not handle that well. Like, or maybe you would, and you're just not the normal there either? I don't know. I just know I hate dealing with people who cannot answer a simple question without treating the fact that you asked it like it is the worst thing in the world. I'm asking you about something to do with what you're supposed to be doing right now. I'm not asking you what your education history is or anything personal whatsoever. I'm just asking you about the goddamn virus and why this is happening and that sort of thing. And also, like, mentioning that the whole, like, weirdness of telling me that my Wi-Fi icon disappeared because
Mom?
I enabled something on MCSoft, but that's not actually how that works. The icon never actually disappears whenever you do that. Chris?
I have to go to the bathroom.
Well, then go.
I have to go kill it.
He doesn't actually have to go to the bathroom. He just doesn't want to do the assignment. been flipping around pages instead of doing it. So as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to have to literally sit here with my arms crossed watching him. And I'm going to have to tell him to stay on one page until he's done. It's actually a very simple assignment. All he's supposed to do is read a paragraph that's a story, and then he has to use some specific words in sentences about the paragraph. That's it. It's just a language arts exercise. He doesn't like writing assignments though, so yeah. Anyway, I dread contacting MCSoft because no matter what I do, they're going to perceive it as rude. I actually had it once where they were like, I don't like your tone. In an email? Really? Because there are so many ways for you to just project your own tone on someone else's email. I've seen it happen too. Hell, I've actually done it. I know, right? Everybody has. And that's the thing. Whenever I was younger, that happened more because, like, I don't know, I learned from it. Now, there are some, like, I don't run my emails through a thing to be like, does this sound like I'm a butthole? No, I literally do not have time. I type quickly, and I get it out. I don't have time. I don't have time to sit here and manage someone else's feelings. And I went to therapy to tell me not to do that, so... Suffice to say, my grandmother was an asshole. My ex-husband was an asshole. And other people's feelings beyond being polite and not being a blatant asshole, you know, not calling them names and stuff, it's not my business. It's theirs. And that sounds cold as fuck. But the reality is that it damaged me trying to bend over backwards to, you know, make everybody feel important and stuff. And if your ego is that fragile, I can't help you. The only thing it's going to do to me is damage. So I think it is important to realize that your perceptions, there is a limit to how much other people are responsible for them. Unless you can outline very specifically how it was rude, I'm not going to manage your goddamn feelings. Especially if it's your job to deal with customers. Oh, goodness. In customer service, I dealt with a lot of crap. I didn't get offended whenever people questioned me. I got offended whenever they actually called me names and shit. Unless somebody was, like, really intensely questioning you in a way that wasn't, like, specific things or anything that you specifically said. It was just based on, like, your gender or something. Then then I get offended by that. But, you know, generally speaking, no. Most people want to know as much as possible about the things that they're dealing with. It's not rude to ask. It is, however, rude to accuse someone of being impolite when you can't even outline, you can't even specify in what way they weren't. In what way was this person rude? Don't call them rude unless you can say how specifically they were rude. I know tone of voice doesn't count when it's in writing. And even that isn't really rude per se. It's like a weird one. It's like up to the perception. And you still sort of need to if you're going to call them on that, you still sort of need to be able to outline that. Otherwise, you're the asshole. Like, it's funny because the only time people even use that is at people who socially cannot even stand up to them about it. But yeah, they're the asshole in that situation. They're also showing a weakness in their character by targeting people who can't really fight back either because they are children and thus will be taken less seriously, or teenagers, and any other variety of things. Now, pointing out to a child that that could be perceived that way and that someone will take offense to that is one thing. Punishing them for tone of voice is bad. Also, it teaches other kids that they could just cause problems for other people due to tone of voice. And there are those people in customer service where that will be their only complaint about you. Your tone of voice. There's nothing that you can do about it. You are not a machine. Oh, yes, and if you make yourself sound like a machine, more people will complain about that. Because nobody wants to talk to a machine. I'm just saying. Usually the ones who complain about your tone of voice are just mad that you couldn't do something that you couldn't do because it's not part of your job. You don't have access to those tools in the computer. Even your company may not even have access to that. And they will just get horribly mad at you and they will complain specifically to get you fired because they just haven't been shitty enough to you that day. They just haven't been shitty enough. They want to get you fired too over their drummed up offense because you couldn't do the thing that they wanted you to do and they just won't let that go. Actually, I had that happen to me once. I didn't have a complaint the entire 6 months I worked this one place until this one lady complained. The only complaint that she had was my tone of voice. She wanted me to she wanted me to renew for something that wasn't even, I don't even think it was with the same company. It wasn't even the same newspaper. And she wanted me to, renew our magazines or something. And I couldn't do that because obviously it's not even the same thing. It's not the same anything. But my numbers were low that week. So they didn't even go through the usual 3-step process. I was told to sign that paper or else. I shouldn't have signed the paper, by the way, but I was young and I needed the job.
Okay, now.
And I was desperate not to lose it. They told me that if I signed it, I wouldn't lose it. I signed it and then they fired me.
That does not make no sense.
And then they used that I signed it as the excuse. If you didn't actually do something, never sign the paper. They use that so much. It didn't help that they were looking for people to get rid of in my department because they were getting rid of my department. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, that lady, I've never forgotten it. But I've also kind of taken it with me as a customer as well. Don't be that shitty to people. I mean, if you're going to complain about someone's tone of voice, it better be their whole goddamn demeanor. And there better be other problems. There just better be other problems. It's customer service, you're expected to be nice, but you're not a robot. If somebody starts calling you names and berating you and a bunch of other things, you're not a robot. If somebody is being abusive to you, you can look like you're not happy with that. At least you should be able to. Without, someone giving you shit. Anyway, This wasn't a case of giving them shit. This was a case of them giving me shit for daring to question them. And this is normal. And I don't like that this is normal. If this is a culture to the area that they're based in, I don't know. All I know is it's really shitty, and it leads to treating their customers rather shittily. And that there have been other people who have complained about this and have a problem with it. And some of those people have even left NCSoft, like stopped using them. The only reason why I still have them is because I haven't found anything better yet. But suffice to say, I'm looking. I don't like having to deal with it, especially since, like, this is just a glorified excuse. They do guarantee malware removal and all that. Chris, stop.
Okay.
You have 5 minutes.
5? Yes, ma'am.
You haven't even started to write anything. You've just flipped through pages.
Great.
If you want me to make the dinner that you picked tonight, you need to behave and do
The
this.
chili?
Yeah. That's our condition for whenever, if he wants to be able to pick what's for dinner, he has to get done with his schoolwork. And he has to behave. So anyway, I don't like calling him. I don't. Looks like I've still got some remnants. I put stuff in my hair. Trying to, the stuff on my face helped. I don't think you can really see it. The red got really, really bad and was all spread out. So basically I used, moisturizer that is actually meant for people who regularly strip their face wearing makeup. Except I don't wear makeup. It helped though. And a lot of the flaking isn't going on right now, although I can feel where it's going to start soon. Because, you know, I've dealt with this a while. It just sort of, happens. It's worse on my scalp, though. For all I know, it could be 2 different issues. I don't know.
Okay.
But it gets really bad on my scalp.
What's this?
Like, bleeding bad.
Is your scalp where your hair grows out, Mom?
Yes, your scalp is where your hair grows out. You have 2 letters written down. Anyway, I'm gonna end this. And I'm gonna go find my glasses and watch Kiddo finish writing his sentences. For which he has 2 words. It's only like 5 sentences.
5 sentences I need to write.
Remember, the sentences need to be about the story, and you need to use the words that are listed
Not my own words?
in the sentence. No, use your own words, but you need to use that one word. Did you see the list? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yeah.
You need to use.
Greatest caught a minute.
Yep. You need to find a way to use those words while talking about it. Believe it or not, I've done stuff like this. There are times as an adult you can actually be required to do this. Remember the text broker articles? The things that I was doing? Sometimes they tell you, we want you to use this word this many times, and stuff like that.
Oh, so that's why you edit so much?
No, you edit a lot because I'm just a perfectionist. And that's another thing. If I wanted to give them attitude, I would make it absolutely clear that I was giving them attitude. But attitude in of itself is not actually rude. Unless it goes very, very extreme. Chris, stop.
So my own words.
Or it is to your parents that you are giving attitude. Or your step-parents.
So my own words, correct?
Mostly because we deal with you all the time. And we live with you. I see that smile. I see it. The giggling. Giggle. I can make you giggle. 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 I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. Don't smack my finger. Chris, put down the pencil. The dragon.
You want some food dragons? You want some food dragons?
No.
You want some food? Want some water?
Dragons, num belly button.